y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kristen. I am a stay-at-home homeschool mom of one girl. Today's video, I'm just going to be sharing with you some resources that I use for quiet time, Bible study, mom time, just some encouragement and things that I use and things that I have found helpful in my role as a mother and a wife and a homeschool mom, all of the things. So stick with me, and I hope you guys enjoy this one. But before I get started, I do want you guys to know that this is a collab with Emily over at A Woman on a Journey blog on YouTube. I will have her channel linked below. If you guys do not follow her, I highly suggest that you do. She has some really good stuff. We actually just incorporated a new history type thing in our morning basket, which I will be showing you guys. And that came from Emily sharing over on her page. And the playlist of all of the other moms that are sharing in this collab will also be down in the description. So make sure you check that out too. I am quite sure there's going to be a wealth of information and knowledge and wisdom that would definitely be worth checking out. So check out Emily. Make sure you let her know that I sent you. And then also all the other moms on the playlist, check them out, give them a thumbs up. To give you guys a little bit of a background, I was not necessarily raised in the church. I wasn't necessarily raised in a Christian home. I knew about Jesus. I knew the Christmas story. I knew the Easter story, the very basics, we'll say. Every once in a while, we'd go to church for Christmas or for Easter, but it was not a thing when I was growing up. So I didn't really get into church until I was in my 20s. And then that kind of faded. And then I met my husband and we had a family and decided we need to get back into church now that we are going to be raising up someone who will be the next generation. So I'm just going to go over a couple things that I have used, some of my favorites really. I've used a plethora of things, but these are really kind of what sticks out to me when I think of what really helped me grow, and what is helping me grow, because I am still learning. I absolutely do not have any of it figured out. And so these are just some resources that I use and maybe could be of use to you. So the first one, I was gifted this when I was in that 20s age, really started going to church, and realized how important it was and all of that stuff. This book in particular will probably always be like a light. It was like a rescue light to me at that time. And I do want to get an additional copy because this one I have written all through it and all kinds of things. And so I want to get another one, that way moving forward we can go through that, because I answered questions in this book that obviously now are no longer relevant. So I need to get an unedited copy. Anyways, that book is Rick Warren's The Purpose-Driven Life. What on earth am I here for? This book was monumental to me in my early 20s. Without getting into all the things, I could be here for hours talking about all the things. This allowed me to see my life in a completely different way. And I probably, if not for this book, I can't say that I would be in the place that I am now. This book really allowed me to understand and grasp the idea that God created me on purpose and for a purpose. This was just a really good one. Now, I don't know how old this is or if there's something new or better or any of that, but this to me was just, it was great. I don't know, I have gone through and there's like stars and underlines and pages, pages marked and all kinds of stuff. So this one I loved. I absolutely will have my daughter do this, obviously, when she gets much older. It's way too old for her now, maybe like high school-ish. Yeah, I just really loved this one. So if you guys have not done this or you have not heard of it, I highly suggest at least looking into it. By now, there's probably like a podcast that goes through it or something. I don't know. But it's 40 days. And it's basically just a devotional. So it gives you some verses to go over. And then you read through a couple pages. And then at the end, it gives you a point to ponder, a verse to remember, and a question to consider. And it was really great for me at that time because I wanted to learn more, but it seemed very overwhelming. And this kind of broke it down in a way that was very easy to understand. And it wasn't just a plethora of questions. I wasn't reading chapters and books in the Bible. It was broken down very easily for me to understand at that point. And it was just fantastic. The next thing is, this is a book that I've recently read. It is fairly new. And I got this, it will make sense here in a minute, but I got this because I want to learn what I need to know in order to pass that down to my daughter. And through this book, I learned quite a bit of things that I knew, but I didn't really know, or I didn't know how they were connected or things like that. And so that is Mama Bear Apologetics. And this one was another one that was really eye-opening for me. It took thoughts and things that I had kind of in my head and put them down on a piece of paper in a way that when they went back in my head made sense. And so I really, really liked this one. This one will for sure be one that I read several times. And then these last two that I'm going to share with you are, they're just devotionals and Bible studies, sort of. They're kind of really both the same. So these are the Bible studies from Daily Grace Co. I am quite sure you guys have heard of them. If not, make sure you check the link in the description. Everything will be linked in the description. These, y'all, first of all, they are beautiful. Second of all, they are really easy to follow, and they're great. They also have the Daily Grace Co. app that you can use as you go through the Bible study. You also can go into the app and communicate with other people doing that study. You can talk about different things that you've learned based on where you are in the reading and all kinds of stuff. These are just a really good resource, especially for me being basically brand new to Bible study. This has been really easy to digest and read through. So I have currently, I have completed the Fruit of the Spirit. And right now I am working through Daughters of Grace. This is the Women of the Bible. This one is a little bit bigger. The reading is a little bit heavier in this one, just because in one day, in one study, you're learning an entire person. So the readings are a little bit bigger as far as what you're reading from the Bible. Most of it is several chapters, whereas like the Fruit of the Spirit would be maybe a chapter or a handful of verses. So something to just keep in mind. So I'm working through that one. And then I also have Ruth. And then my husband and I, we actually have this Come and See study of John. We have the His and Hers. I didn't grab his, but they're identical other than aesthetics. So the hers obviously is more feminine, his is more masculine, but all of the information, the reading, the questions, all that stuff is exactly the same on the inside. We actually, so we got this because we thought it would be great to do together before we go to bed. The interesting part is we got this and we got like, I don't know, just 3 or 4 days in, and then our church actually is doing a study on John. So we put this on the back burner for a little while, and then we will pick this back up once our church is done. We are actually going verse by verse through the book of John with church. So we thought it would be cool to come back to this once we're done in church, and we can kind of mesh the two together and kind of just solidify the things that we learned at church through this study. And then the last thing, I read the Awaking Wonder, right? Awaking Wonder by Sally Clarkson. So this is Clay Clarkson's Our 24 Family Ways. This is a family devotional, and we really enjoy this. Again, my husband, his schedule really is kind of all over the place. And so we never can say at this specific time, this is what we are doing. But when he's home and we have a few minutes to sit together as a family, we will work through this. And we are enjoying it. It actually, it's pretty interesting to have the three of us together reading something in scripture, and then kind of all the different takeaways that we get from it. From 2 adults and a 5-year-old, it's kind of interesting to see the way the 5-year-old picks up on things, but this one has been a really good resource. If you guys want any, a flip through or kind of look inside to see how it works, I would be happy to do that. Just leave that in the comments and let me know. And then really the other resource that I use, or the biggest decision that we have made that has helped us grow in our faith, is getting connected with a church. Because again, we did not grow up in a church. And so we did not have any ties to anything specifically. And so we had the opportunity to church shop and we were able to find a church that meets our needs. And I could go into a list of all the things that we feel like we need and we want from a church. Basically, our top one thing that we needed was a church that preaches the gospel and that teaches the Bible. And so we found a church. We love our church. We love our pastor. And so we, that's our biggest thing is having someone that really speaks into us. For my husband, it's really great for him because one of his concerns when we were church shopping was he didn't want a church where he felt like he couldn't understand what was happening or what the pastor was preaching on, because again, he wasn't raised in church, and he felt that a lot of times he couldn't relate to a pastor. Now, our pastor, he relates to. He's from South Carolina. He hunts, he fishes, shoots guns, loves Jesus, wears boots, and so that's 100% up my husband's alley, and he feels like he can relate to him. And I feel like that has helped me a lot because thankfully, we don't have any tension there between the two of us on our church or going to church or anything like that. So that's been really great for us. And then from that, we also are part of what's called a disciple group. It's also like a small group, I guess you could call it. And basically, it's just a group of us that meet every Tuesday. We meet over Zoom. That's actually what works best for us. But anyways, so it's a group of us that meet and we just talk about the sermon, the previous Sunday. And we pray together and we talk about life and all that kind of stuff. And that's been really, really helpful. And it has provided so much information and just wisdom. The group is not, there's no set standard or expectation, or basically, if you're available on a Tuesday at this time, you can be in the group. That's basically all that it comes down to. Now, there are some that are strictly women's groups, strictly men's groups, and then obviously this is a mixed group. But other than that, it doesn't matter. So for us, we have, or, you know, for our group, we have some widows, we have married, we have single. There's a mix of people, and then our age ranges too. And so that gives us a wide variety of life experience, of wisdom. Some people have been in the church their whole life. Some of them are brand new, just like my husband and I. And so that's been really, really great for us too. It's just taking your thoughts from the Sunday sermon and getting to talk with other people, and what do they think, and how does it apply to them, and just kind of all of that stuff. That has really helped me grow as well. These are just resources that I use, and it changes for everyone. Everyone's relationship with the Lord is different, but I think that's really what we need to focus on. Is it's a relationship between you and the Lord, and that is the main focus. What does that look like for you? How can you grow in that relationship? Do you need quiet time? Personally, I do, yes. And I have to wake up at 5:30 in the morning in order to have an hour of that quiet time. That's okay with me. Most days that's what happens. Some days it doesn't, and I can tell because I get grumpy. But the whole point is to make sure that you are finding the time, whatever that looks like, to grow that relationship. Sometimes it's the 5 minutes you have to say a prayer in the shower. That's okay. If that's all that you have time for, that's all that you have time for. But God wants you to prioritize that in your life. You've got to make a way for Him so that He can make a way for you. And I think it's really easy to forget that, or to put our focus on training up our children, which we should be doing, but we also are children. We are still students, and we still need to be trained up. And I think sometimes we can forget that. Sometimes we can get to a place where we feel like, okay, you know, I've got a pretty good grasp on this, and so I'm good. And quite honestly, I don't think we ever get to a place where we can just coast along and just say, all right, I'm good. I got this. Because there's always something that He's trying to teach us, or He wants us to do, or somewhere where we should be going, or something we should be changing. And I think that the quieter that we are, and the more still we are in the moments that we have them, the easier it is to hear the still small voice. And if we don't allow that time in our lives, when and where we can, it can be very difficult. We're basically putting that back on ourselves, trying to make all of these things work, when really God just asks that we turn it over to Him, and He will guide our steps. But if we're not allowing the time for the turning over, how can He guide us? And so these are just things, again, that I use. It looks different for everyone. And you'll see that. There obviously is a playlist in the description, like I told you guys, that's going to have a plethora of information and resources and thoughts and feelings and all kinds of things. But as you go through them, I just want you to focus mainly on the things that will work for you, what you think will work for you, in what you need and what you desire to have in your relationship with the Lord. And with that, I will end today's video. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will talk to you soon.